For years, you have been encouraged to focus on the noise of the trade war, the tariffs, the late-night policy tweets, the billions of dollars announced in headlines. But that is not the real war. The real war, the conflict that will define the 21st century, is being fought in silence. It isn't being fought with tariffs, it's being fought with choke points. This is economic warfare. It is a quiet battle for control over the physical ingredients and the manufacturing brains that build everything in our modern world. Today, we are analyzing two strategic weapons of this new conflict. Weapon number one, China's control over the vitamins of the planet, rare earth minerals. Weapon number two, America's control over the brains of the planet, semiconductors. This is the story of how the world's two superpowers have locked each other in a stalemate of mutually assured disruption. In this intelligence briefing, we will decode exactly how these weapons work, why they are fatal choke points, and who truly holds the leverage of power as we head into 2025. China's rare earth choke point. To understand China's primary weapon, you must first understand rare earth elements. The first thing to know is that they are not actually rare. They are, however, incredibly difficult and expensive to refine. Think of them as the vitamins of the modern economy. You only need a tiny amount, but without them, the entire body collapses. You cannot build an F-35 fighter jet without the high-performance magnets made from neodymium. You cannot build a wind turbine or the engine of an electric vehicle without dysprosium. Your smartphone, your hard drive, your missile guidance systems, all of them are dependent on these 17 elements. And one nation has systematically cornered the market. How did this happen? This is the part of the story that Washington often prefers to forget. The United States used to dominate the global rare earth market. The Mountain Pass mine in California was once the world's leading producer. But Beijing had a strategic vision. As Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping famously stated during a tour in 1987, the Middle East has oil, China has rare earths. What followed was a deliberate three-step strategy executed over decades. First, undercut the market. Beijing flooded the globe with state-subsidized rare earths at extremely low prices. Second, consolidate control. Trapped between massive environmental compliance costs and collapsing prices, America's Mountain Pass mine was forced to suspend its operations in 2002. Beijing didn't just mine the materials, they acquired the processing technology and the intellectual property. Third, weaponize the supply chain. China didn't just want to sell the raw materials. They forced major technology companies, particularly from Japan and South Korea, to move their high-tech magnet and motor factories onto Chinese soil in exchange for a guaranteed supply. They captured the entire value chain, from dirt to device. The proof of this weaponization is undeniable. Let's look at the data for 2024. According to the International Energy Agency, or IEA, China controls roughly 60 to 70% of global mining of rare earths. But that is not the real choke point. The real choke point is processing. Beijing controls 91% of the world's capacity to refine rare earths into usable materials. This gives them a monopoly, and they have proven they are willing to use it. In 2010, following a territorial dispute, Beijing halted all rare earth shipments to Japan. The move sent shockwaves through the global technology industry and proved this was no longer a theoretical threat. It was an active weapon. More recently, in August of 2023, Beijing imposed export restrictions on gallium and germanium. These are two critical minerals essential for making advanced semiconductors. This was not a random act. It was a direct warning shot, a precise retaliation in the escalating U.S.-China tech war. As of April 2025, Chinese regulators have announced new, tighter export controls, further securing their grip on this vital choke point. The dependency is now critical. The Pentagon cannot build its most advanced weapon systems without indirectly Beijing's permission. This realization is what forced Washington to stop fighting the old war and start fighting the new one. It forced America to find its own weapon, America's semiconductor choke point. If rare earths are the vitamins of the economy, semiconductors are the brains. These tiny microscopic switches operate everything: your car, your coffee maker, your tractor, the power grid, and, most importantly, they power artificial intelligence. This is where the true story of American dominance lies. China and its manufacturing partners produce a massive volume of chips, but they produce low-level chips. The simple ones. America's choke point is not in mass manufacturing. America's choke point is in design and in the tools used to make the most advanced brains on Earth. Let's look at the evidence. Claim number 1, design dominance. According to analysis from Tech Insights, in the critical market for data center AI chips, 3 American companies, NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD, controlled a combined 98% of the market share in 2023. NVIDIA alone holds the vast majority of that. China simply cannot design chips that can compete at this level. Claim number 2, the ultimate choke point. This is the most important piece of the puzzle. To build the most advanced chips, the ones under 7 nanometers, you need a machine that costs over $200 million. It is arguably the most complex machine ever built by humankind. It is called an EUV, or extreme ultraviolet lithography machine, and only one company on Earth can make them, ASML, based in the Netherlands. Washington identified this as the ultimate choke point. For years, the U.S. government has successfully pressured the Dutch government to ban ASML from selling these critical EUV machines to any Chinese company. This is how America weaponized its supply chain. The sanctions that began in 2022 were the masterstroke. On October 7, 2022, the U.S. Commerce Department didn't just ban the sale of advanced chips to China, it did something far more devastating. It banned U.S. persons, meaning American citizens and green card holders, from supporting the development or production of advanced chips at specific fabs in China. This triggered an exodus of the most experienced engineers and executives from China's semiconductor industry overnight. The impact was immediate. Look at Huawei. Once a global giant poised to overtake Apple, its smartphone division was nearly annihilated. It was cut off from the brains it needed to compete. Beijing, for all its economic power, has been spending hundreds of billions of dollars trying to achieve self-sufficiency. But they remain 5 to 10 years behind. They can copy a design, they can steal intellectual property, but they cannot replicate the ASML machine. America found its weapon. It cut off the supply of brains to China's future technological ambitions. The stalemate and the 2025 sprint. Now we see the full chessboard. This is the doctrine of mutually assured disruption. Look at the sequence of events. Washington acts. It weaponizes the semiconductor supply chain, banning U.S. persons and blocking ASML machines. Beijing retaliates. It immediately weaponizes the mineral supply chain, restricting the export of gallium and germanium needed to make those very chips. It is a perfect stalemate. America cannot build its F-35s without China's rare earth magnets. China cannot build its advanced AI data centers without America's chip designs. This is the new Cold War. It is not a war of ideology. It is a structural war for control of the physical supply chains. But Washington is not sitting still. This dependency has triggered a panic inside the Pentagon. The White House has activated the Defense Production Act to accelerate domestic mining. According to government reports, the Pentagon is now spending over $1 billion to build a strategic stockpile of these critical minerals. It is directly co-investing $400 million back into the resurrected Mountain Pass mine in California. And as of late 2025, the U.S. is aggressively building new friend-shoring supply chains with Japan, Australia, Malaysia, and Thailand, trying to create a non-Chinese source. But China is also adapting. The American sanctions had an unintended consequence. They accelerated Beijing's desperate sprint for self-sufficiency. Huawei, far from being dead, is now leading a national team to build a domestic-only supply chain, and they are making alarming progress. China's top chip maker, SMIC, is now using older DUV technology, machines they can get, and pushing it to its absolute limits. They are producing advanced 7-nanometer chips. It's an inefficient, expensive process, but it works. It is a breakthrough Washington did not anticipate. This brings us to the very latest intelligence. In late October 2025, in a quiet trade negotiation, China reportedly agreed to a temporary pause on its most severe rare earth export controls for 1 year. Make no mistake, this is not peace. This is a temporary window. Both sides have paused the economic warfare, only to buy time. They are now in a full-scale sprint to secure their own choke points before that window closes. The conclusion. So, when you hear about tariffs in the news, remember that it is mostly theater. The real conflict is a structural war for control. It is not a hot war. It is an economic war, designed to slowly paralyze an opponent. Both sides now have a strategic weapon pointed at each other's heads. The only question is, who will be forced to pull the trigger first? In this new era of economic warfare, who do you believe is paying the ultimate price? The corporations, the governments, or the people? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But this battle over materials and chips is creating a third hidden crisis, one that impacts your food supply. In our next video, we'll explain how this same trade war is threatening the American farmer, and you can watch that analysis by clicking the link on your screen now.